Among Us is an adrenaline-filled game where you are constantly paranoid and worried that you're either going to be killed or caught. But there are different areas of the maps and certain rooms on each ship that just heighten these intense feelings of anxiety and impending doom, and that is what we are here to discuss today. Welcome back, my fellow gamers. I'm your host Amanda McKnight, and this is Top 10 Gaming. Today we're going to be counting down the top 10 scary Among Us locations. And without any further ado, let's dive in, shall we? Just keep an eye out for imposters, okay? Number 10. Storage. Storage is an area that has always inspired terror within me, mostly because it's large and open and, well, you can't really see everything there all at once. There's also the garbage chute, which is located at the far reaches of the room, where only the chute and its surrounding walls stand between you and the vacuum of space. Not only is it frightening when you have to go to this more remote area to empty the trash, as you are usually further away from the rest of your crewmates, but for some reason I always experience this irrational fear of just like being shot out into space through the garbage chute, even though I know that isn't how the story of this game ever goes. Like, that's never gonna happen to me while I'm over there. Although maybe on the Skeld we do shoot people out of the garbage chute into space, because, you know, there isn't really an airlock on our map there. There isn't really, like, where do we release people into space from on the Skeld? What's the story there? Number 9. Admin. This area is always scary to me on the Skeld map because it tends to be one of the first places you run to when you have a card swipe as a task. Of course, there is strength in numbers, but then there tends to be that occasion where you're one of the last few people doing the swipe and maybe there's only one person left standing beside you. Is that person actually swiping? Will they kill you? These are always the thoughts that are crossing my mind. And if I'm the imposter, I'm also there looking for an opportunity to kill someone, which makes me nervous on the other side of it. I also just always associate both the admin and the cafeteria with data transferring, which tends to be a longer task and as such always makes me nervous. Number 8. Cafeteria. Speaking of the cafeteria, this area is scary because it is so large and while open, you can't quite see all of it at once, especially if you're doing a task, which usually happens on sort of the borders of that room. In the Skeld, this is also where the meeting button is, and I'm always just suspicious of those who appear to be guarding that button, who are just kind of standing there. Of course, they could have just glitched out and be unable to move, but they could also be claiming to have glitched out and simply be waiting for the right moment to strike. That would be some kind of tactic, of course, but in a game with multiple imposters, any tactic feels possible. Number 7. Greenhouse. The greenhouse is an area in the Mira HQ map. It's kind of both a peaceful and terrifying space in my opinion. It sits here at the top of the map, and while in the greenhouse you can see outside because all of the exterior surfaces there appear to be made out of a thick glass, or I guess it could be a clear plastic, but that'd just be kind of weird. In my opinion, that'd be a weird building material choice. This is the area in Mira where the imposter can sabotage the oxygen, which is one of the most terrifying sabotages out there if you're actually thinking of the consequences of suffocating IRL. Though maybe not as frightening as the kind of sabotage that is possible in our next location. Number 6. Reactor. To me, the reactor is one of the most terrifying locations because when you need to avert disaster, you kind of need to split up with the other person to do so, moving you out of one another's field of vision and leaving you open to potential attack. It's also possible that the other person could even be the imposter and attack you after the crisis is averted. This is overall a great room for an imposter to strike because in the Skeld, which is the map I'm mostly focusing on here on this list, it contains 2 vents which connect to either engine. Also, imagine if you actually experienced a reactor meltdown. That is a terrifying sabotage to face in real life. Much more terrifying even than the game version of that experience, where it's just things blasting and, you know, if it fails, you're gonna lose, but it's not as scary as if you lived through that, I imagine. Number 5. The map you haven't played. As always, one of the most frightening locations in Among Us is the location belonging to the map you have yet to play. Whether you are an imposter or a crew playing on a map you've never seen before, or playing on a map that you are simply much less experienced with, it's horrifying. You often need to open the map while walking around to figure out where you're going, making you less aware of everything that's happening around you, or right in front of you. And it's much harder to know when and where to vent if you're an imposter, and when and where to kill. It's also hard to know what areas are considered the most safe, and which are more risky as a member of the crew straight out of the gate. Playing on new maps is it's intimidating. Number 4. Security. I'm always nervous every time I'm in security in the Skeld, because anytime you watch the footage, you could 1. Potentially witness a murder, or get murdered yourself while you're trying to watch for the imposter. And what's worse, there is also event insecurity, which makes for a somewhat more easy getaway for imposters, or allows imposters to enter without you even noticing. Any activity in Among Us where you really can't see yourself is horrifying. When you're watching those cameras, you can't see yourself. Number 3. Decontamination. The decontamination corridor is one you will find on the mirror map layout. It is a horrifying place to be, especially if you are in there with someone you think has been acting sus. When you walk into the decontamination room, the doors on either end both close during the decontamination process, meaning there's no way to get out for a moment. It is possible that if you are trapped here with someone, they could use this opportunity to kill you if they are an imposter, but even if they don't kill you and you both survive the decontamination, when the doors open, you should still be mindful on your way out. A common imposter tactic is to wait for someone to enter the decontamination chamber and then sabotage the lights. Upon leaving decontamination, their victims will have a very small field of vision, giving them the perfect opportunity to kill them without being seen by anyone else. Number 2. Specimen Room. The Specimen Room is one of the most removed locations of really all of the maps thus far. The Specimen Room is one of the areas belonging to the Polis map. This area is far removed from the rest of the map and can only be accessed via long, empty hallways that each come from the admin and the laboratory respectively. To even get to either of the hallways, you must pass through a small decontamination chamber, and we already know how scary decontamination can be from the mirror map. The Specimen Room is so remote and horrifying that you might wonder why anyone would ever want to go there, especially as it gives off strong alien movie vibes, with you having to decontaminate to even get to the room, and with the little test tubes in there on a central table that contain shadowy figures. No thank you. But you might be forced to go here if you have a task, or if you're an imposter who, simply wants to see if you can find someone here all alone for you to target. One of the tasks you may have to complete here is uploading data as well, which takes so long. The anxiety you feel while uploading in this very remote location is obviously super intense. I just hate when I have to upload or download data. I'm like, no, I'm gonna be here forever. And then when you exit it too early and you have to start it all over again, oh my goodness. Number 1. Electrical. Electrical is definitely the scariest place, on the Skeld at least. Electrical is horrifying because there are quite a few tasks in there that are more involved and time consuming, which means that you might have to spend some time in there potentially alone, in a room where there is a vent, usually quite close to where you're completing your tasks, and where there is a giant electrical panel that juts out of the wall, shielding the other half of the room from basically anyone's immediate view that's walking by. Basically, when you go into electrical, you usually have your guard up because you know this could be the end for you. You could die here. Feeling even worse paranoia when someone seemingly joins you in the room to complete a task, it's hard not to run away immediately as soon as someone else comes in here, just based on the suspicion that they are completing 0 tasks and are actually an imposter waiting to kill you instead. Ack! There are so many places that I just do not want to go to when I'm playing Among Us, but that I have to go to because tasks and killing crew. Sometimes I just wish Among Us was a peaceful game where all you did was go around and complete tasks with your crew and just decorate the ship. But I guess I have Animal Crossing for that kind of serenity in gameplay. And I guess free play offers you a version of just wandering around the ship doing tasks. Not that it's really meant for creating a peaceful ship environment style game. It's more for practicing how to be the most well versed in your surroundings and the most deceitful if you're an imposter. But let's talk about something less deceitful and more bizarre now as we look at some of your comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Weirdest Pokemon. Ender Taser writes, I got a Pokemon Go ad when I clicked on the vid. Lol. Wow, that's pretty relevant because Pokemon, also I was talking about Pokemon Go in that video, so it's like YouTube knew. Did you know YouTube? Are you sus? Jesse Waldak comments, you have to do a lot of walking for that, except you don't get candies for walking, you have to catch that many other Magikarp to get that many candies. Well, actually you can get candies for walking. You just need to make sure your Magikarp is your buddy. So if you're walking with a Magikarp, it will give you Magikarp candies. Now, like I said, you do need to do a lot of walking to get 400 Magikarp candies if you're not catching them and you're just doing it from walking. Because I think it's like for every 3 kilometers potentially, you get 1 candy. And yeah, I said kilometers because I'm in Canada, so that's how we count the distance. But yes, but you can also do it by catching Magikarp, so you can do it both ways. But walking is totally a thing. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and feels and for being here. This has been Top 10 Gaming and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you to keep on gaming on. Pew pew!